Have you ever walked into a room you prayed for and still felt like you had to shrink to survive it? Have you ever found yourself in a space where you belonged on paper but not in culture? Have you ever felt the quiet pressure to laugh at what you don't agree with, to stay silent when you should speak, and to bend just enough to stay comfortable? Have you ever wondered if adapting to the environment was slowly turning into losing yourself? So how do you remain faithful in places that reward compromise? How do you keep your integrity when integrity feels inconvenient? How do you stay rooted when everything around you pulls in the opposite direction? If you've ever felt that tension between belonging and conviction, this episode is for you. Welcome to Divine Living with Purpose. In this series, we've been walking through Daniel chapter 1, not as a history lesson, but as a mirror to our own transitions, our own tensions, our own tests of integrity. In episode 1, we talked about renaming, about what happens when environments try to redefine you. In episode 2, we sat with a deeper question. Who am I when this chapter ends? When the title shifts? When the structure changes? When the identity you carried no longer fits the same way? And today we're stepping into what comes after that. What does it look like to remain faithful in unfamiliar places? If this feels familiar, it's because it is. Long before corporate culture and social pressure, there was Babylon. And Daniel found himself there. He didn't choose it. He didn't design it. He didn't align with its values. He had to learn how to live in a system that did not reflect his foundation. And sometimes faith isn't tested in crisis. It's tested in culture. It's tested in rooms where compromise is normalized, in spaces where silence protects comfort, in environments where integrity costs something. So what makes a place feel so foreign today? Sometimes a place feels foreign because the values shift. Maybe you're in meetings where cutting corners is justified, where gossip is bonding, where success is measured by visibility and not character, where speaking up might isolate you. And the pressure, it isn't dramatic, it's subtle. It's the joke that everyone laughs at that doesn't sit right with you. It's the decision that's, hey man, it's just business. It's the expectation that you blend in. And over time, that quiet pressure reshapes people. Not because they're rebellious, but because they're tired. They're just simply tired. And maybe your foreign land isn't called Babylon. Maybe it's in the workplace. Maybe it's in your office. Maybe it's in a boardroom. Maybe it's while you're on a leadership team. Maybe it's in an organization where the culture feels heavier than the mission. That's where this gets real. Remaining faithful in unfamiliar places today might mean that you're refusing to compromise your ethics just to hit the numbers or satisfy some quota. Not stepping on someone to climb to the top faster. Declining opportunities that don't align with your values. Holding your peace where, if you react, that could earn some approval, right? But that pressure is rarely loud. It's really quiet. And it's that quiet pressure that reshapes people slowly. And I'll be honest, that part has become very personal for me. There was a time in my career when collaboration felt so energizing for me. When pushing for excellence and towards a common goal felt aligned inside of me. When the room felt like it was based on a mission and not just maneuvering to get in position. But in this season, it just feels different for me. There are moments where I find myself sitting quietly, hearing the gossip that's often disguised as bonding, watching people, plot, and it's disguised as strategy, sitting in rooms where someone is corrected in a way that doesn't sit right with me. And all I can do is just sit back and observe. And internally, I wrestle with, do I engage? Do I withdraw? Do I speak? Do I stay silent? Here's the unfamiliar part for me. I'm no longer striving to compete anymore. I'm no longer pushing for position. I'm present, but I'm not performing. And that space is very, very new to me. Remaining faithful there doesn't look like dominating the room. It looks like guarding my spirit. It looks like not absorbing what I'm surrounded by. It looks like staying steady even when the culture isn't. And then there's relational pressure. Unfamiliar places show up in relationships too, you know. Maybe in friend groups that normalize what you've outgrown, family systems that resist your growth, church environments where loyalty is valued more than the truth. Oh yeah, it's real uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable when your maturity disrupts someone else's comfort. Remaining faithful there might mean not shrinking, not over-explaining yourself, not performing just to maintain belonging. Just remaining steady, you know? And then there's cultural pressure. You know, we live in a time now where outrage spreads faster than wisdom, where distraction is constant, where reaction is rewarded. You're pushed to choose sides quickly, respond before reflecting, engaging in every argument. But sometimes that faithfulness looks like restraint, not posting, not reacting, not absorbing every cultural current, but guarding your spirit instead of proving your stance. You know, as I approach the end of more than 2 decades in the military, I've had to wrestle with this personally. You know, for years I've walked into rooms with a whole lot of clarity, where rank defined the room, where structure defined the expectations, where the uniform defined authority. There was no question about where I stood. But as I prepare to step away from that structure, I've entered unfamiliar places. Rooms where the title doesn't lead anymore. Spaces where identity isn't assumed. To be honest, there were moments where I felt exposed. And what I've realized is that when the structure fades, the character is revealed. When the applause quiets, the conviction becomes personal. Remaining faithful in this season for me doesn't look dramatic at all. It looks like choosing integrity when no one else is measuring it. It looks like not shrinking just because the environment changed. It looks like trusting that God is forming me outside of a system that once informed me. And unfamiliar doesn't mean that I'm unstable or it's unstable. It means that I'm being stretched. And, you know, sometimes stretching requires great strength, and that's something that isn't borrowed from position. It has to come from within. And now, how do we take a stand? You know, in our minds, we may think that taking a stand has to be dramatic, but it's actually sometimes quiet. It's not laughing at the joke. It's not forwarding the email. It's not agreeing just to belong. It's not bending your integrity just to maintain access. And Daniel adapted to Babylon, but he did not absorb Babylon. Let me say that again. Daniel adapted to Babylon. He did not absorb Babylon. And that's the difference. You know, you can learn the language without losing your loyalty. You can navigate the system without surrendering your center. And so I'm going to leave a couple things with you. You know, where in your life do you feel unfamiliar right now? Think about that. Where is the pressure subtle, but so very real? What conversations make you shrink? And what environments tempt you to compromise? Am I adapting or am I absorbing? Let that sit. In closing, foreign seasons redefine you. They clarify what you believe. They expose what you cannot compromise. They reveal who you are when no one is affirming you. You're not misplaced. You're being formed. Remaining faithful in unfamiliar places isn't weakness, by no means. But what it is strength. It's strength that doesn't need applause. But faithfulness in culture is only a part of the story. Because after you've learned how to stand in unfamiliar places, you have to then examine what is shaping you from on the inside. And that will bring us to our next episode, episode 4, titled, Not Everything You Consume Nourishes You. You see, Daniel remained faithful in Babylon, not just because he stood firm, but because he chose carefully what he allowed to feed him. And next time, we're going to talk about that table. This is Divine Living with Purpose, and I'll meet you right there next time.